We are back. This is episode 1 of the Unicell build series. How are you guys? Did you finish building your bus? Did you buy the bus? Are you traveling and living on the road? Did you decide to do something completely different?
Did you move in a box? Are you riding a bike across Africa? That sounds exciting. Did you sell your bus and your van and your car to go buy a house at an incredibly inflated rate?
Or maybe a super inflated bus.
An inflatable bus. That's it. All right, guys, the big secret is we're going to build an inflatable raft bus this year. And this is just episode 1 of it.
We're back, huh?
Yep.
Here we are.
Inner tube life. Hashtag inner tube life.
Right into it. Episode 1. Straight in. Coming in hot.
Ride across this country into the starlight. 12,000 miles, turn back, do it again. No destination, it's just a journey. You were my lover and friend.
So this is the very first episode of our Unicell build series. 2 videos ago, we announced that we bought a 2021 Unicell box van. This is on a Chevy 3500 chassis, and we actually really fell in love with this vehicle. It is really, really cool, and personally, I'm looking forward to building in a box without curved walls.
Yeah, it has a great combination of the boxiness, which makes it easier to work in, but it still is very aesthetically pleasing on the outside. And right now it looks a bit like a work van, but as soon as we get some windows and doors and everything else exterior done, it's going to look way different, and I actually like how it looks a lot.
We think this vehicle is sort of the cross between a shuttle bus and a box truck. It kind of has that curve of a shuttle bus on the outside that makes it a little bit more appealing than a full-blown box truck. It kind of marries the two. It's the best of the shuttle bus and the best of the box truck.
Yeah, and from a practical standpoint, it is a single fiberglass piece, which is really probably the biggest selling point. Like, there's no leaks to seal.
No seams. I don't have to get up on that roof and seal all the seams and make sure it's not leaking. There's no chance for it to leak.
Yeah, so for that, it's actually better than a box truck or a shuttle bus, because both of those have a lot of potential spots to leak, which we've always dealt with, and we've dealt with fine, but it's kind of irritating.
Today, we're gonna jump right into the build because there is so much work to do in one of these builds. Let's get right to it. The first thing we had to do after purchasing the vehicle was actually getting it back to our workshop in New York. It was a little bit of a drive from Connecticut to New York. We don't usually buy from the Northeast, but we were actually very grateful that it was close to New York where we build. Last year we bought from Florida because of rust and corrosion on the vehicle. We like to buy from the South or the Southwest. That always makes a really intense drive back to New York if you buy from one of those places. So this is a very new vehicle. It's a 2021, so it didn't have any rust on the body. It hadn't been driven on salted roads, so there was no chance for rust actually. So we felt comfortable buying from Connecticut, and that made it only a few hours drive back to the shop. Cleaning out our tent was another big hurdle. If you watched the last build series, you know that we build in this kind of arched canvas tent that gets so hot in the summertime. So we were moving back in there, but my family had been storing some things for the winter. So we had to pull all of that out, get everything cleaned up, all of our tools back in place, and we left it kind of messy last winter.
Yeah, it was very cold when we were finally finishing the last project, and we just wanted to get out of here. It was like, get everything in a box as well as you can, but I'm not sitting here meticulously for a week. I need to leave.
It made a lot more work for us this year coming back, but that's okay. We got it done.
Yeah, it was. I think I had in my mind that we were just going to step back into the space that was set up, and I was like, oh wait, it's not quite like that. Though it still was much further ahead than last year when we first set it up. So it didn't take us too long. Maybe within a week we had it pretty well set up.
Once we were back into our workshop in New York, the first thing we had to do was actually plan the build. And if you've done a build, you know that this can be one of the most time-consuming parts of the entire process. Those decisions that you make in the beginning really just set up the stage for the rest of your build and how frustrated you're gonna be down the line. If you plan really well and really thoroughly in the beginning, it's gonna save you a lot of headache in the end. And for us, one of the biggest things was just getting our layout locked in, because that affects how we frame the vehicle, how we do the furring strips, and just everything. A build is like a pyramid. You just build on each step. And so if the step before it isn't fully planned and executed, it's just so frustrating.
Probably one of the bigger challenges your first time, maybe even second time doing a build, is planning the stages well, because it can really slow you down as things kind of get in the way of each other. If you've been through the process a few times, you can probably get a little more of a streamlined plan, and it'll just be less of a headache, because you're not going to have to undo things to install things and that sort of stuff.
We're using this program called VanSpace, and this is what we've used on both of our bus builds and now this build as well. It's a really great and simple program to be able to plan out how your layout's going to feel in real life. That's the hardest part of just drawing it out, is that you can't tell how the space is really going to feel in a 3D way. So with this program, you can plan all of that out. You can put all the different components of your build in place and see what it'll actually look like in real life. This is kind of what we're deciding to do. So we went through and made the box van in VanSpace. We had to make a custom vehicle, but then we were able to place the windows where we want them, put the back doors on, put the shower in place, and I think that we're getting a really good idea for the space just from planning it out this way. But we have a lot to do. We have a lot of decisions to make, and today is all about locking those things into place. We've talked about VanSpace through the years. We've been using this program for all of our builds. It's just really helpful to be able to see your build in 3D and just kind of understand the space a little bit better. For me, that's how my brain works. Once I can see everything put together, I can look at it and say, you know, that looks a little bit too cramped. I don't like this. The shower should be bigger. The couch should be smaller. And we've just loved using VanSpace for that reason. It's really simple to learn. It's kind of just drag and drop components, so we fully recommend downloading VanSpace, especially if it's your first time building and you're doing a first time layout. It's just a great way to test out all your ideas before you actually do it in real life. Today is the very first day of the build. Starting build activities. And the very first thing that we need to do is to get the vehicle weighed so that we know our starting weight, and then we can weigh it when it's done and make sure that we're well under the GVWR, and just knowing how much our build weighs. It's a really good number just to know in general. So that is the first step. We are gonna head to the giant drive-on scale. Let's get it done.
Oh, 8,000 pounds.
Exactly 8.
Yeah, so we got basically 4,000 pounds to work with.
We are officially back at our workshop, and of course, it is pouring.
Yeah, welcome back.
Welcome to springtime in the Northeast. So we can't do much outside today. but we are going to be measuring all of our support beams so that we can order the metal that we're going to beef up the framing with. We already went to Home Depot for our furring strips. Mateo hates the rain.
So do I, bud. So do I.
But we're gonna go ahead and take all of those measurements. That's the next step. Before we can do walls or flooring or insulation, we just simply have to take all the measurements.
Yep. Let's get it going.
I think that we have a pretty good plan. I think that plan will change like 20 times. But we have a plan to begin with, and that's what's important.
Starter plan.
Okay.
Let's get to work.
Today is all about taking this garage door off for obvious reasons. It's gonna leak, it's definitely drafty, so we need to get that off first because it's attached over the wall panels. We also need to take the wall panels off. Today is our tiny little day of demo. This is nothing compared to the shuttle buses, but it is a little bit of demo.
It's something new. So we've never taken one of these doors off, so hopefully we don't kill ourselves.
I am not looking forward to this, but it has to be done before anything else can be started. So we're conquering our fears today.
We knew we wanted to eliminate that garage door before we even bought the vehicle. We originally were looking for one that had maybe the two doors that opened out, but there's not a ton of vehicles available and the garage door is way more common. Anyways, we ended up with that. We knew it was going to be changed right away. So first step was, how do we get this thing off without snapping the spring and cutting our hands or something horrible?
If you've ever removed a roll door from a garage or some other type of building or vehicle, you know that they have this huge spring right across the top, and that gives the whole door the tension to open and close. So immediately we knew that we had to be really careful with that spring so that we didn't injure ourselves. And what we had to do first was just get rods, put them into little openings, release the bolts, and then Drew just slowly let the tension off. So it was a long, meticulous process of just releasing that spring, but you absolutely cannot do it all at once. The spring could snap back. It could really, really hurt you. So you want to do it slowly. In the end, we were really afraid of this spring, but we figured out there was a lot less tension on this spring than you would have on a traditional building door, like a garage door or workshop door. Those springs are super compressed and really dangerous. This one was a little bit less intense, but we still wanted to be careful.
Yeah, the door really isn't that big once you start taking it apart, and it's two springs, one on each side, and they're not that crazy. I was actually, after a few cranks with the rods, I had some like welding gloves on, I was actually able to manage and like resist it enough with my hand. I still took my time to undo it with the rods, but it was nothing like a full garage door where there'd be a lot more tension. After a few turns around, it was like, okay, I'm not that scared of this.
We got the spring off the top of the door and then started removing the panels of the actual door itself. So those just come right off the track, and then we took the track itself off. Overall, this wasn't really a difficult process, and it felt really good to get that door off the vehicle. It started to feel like it's coming into its own potential, just getting all these barriers out of the way.
Yeah, it felt really good actually because it was hot that day, and you have to do it from within side. So we were just in this box and it was super hot. If we got that first panel off, it's like, I can breathe.
The breeze came in, glorious.
Once we had the garage door removed, we went right into demo, and the first step was getting those walls off so we could see what we're working with behind there as far as framing and how we're going to set this up for insulation, framing, and all of that.
On the ceiling, we could see that we were working with hat channel, and we assumed that those just continued from the ceiling down to the sides. But we needed to pull the panels off and make sure that that's what was going on. So once the panels were off, we could see that was exactly the case. All the ceiling bars just extended right down. And so eventually we are going to have to reinforce that framing because the hat channel wasn't even welded to the frame of the vehicle. It was kind of just glued onto the fiberglass body, and that is not conducive to solar panels and cabinets. That thing would just rip itself apart if we tried to get all this weight on the inside and outside of the vehicle. But taking those panels off was the very first step to just confirming what we already thought.
Being in a number of box vans and box trucks over the years, I know the framing can vary quite a bit. Some of them, it's not super sturdy. It's just enough to really hold the walls up to contain whatever you're transporting. It's not meant for people to transport back there. There's not a full roll cage. So this is something we'll definitely get into next episode, because right away we know we have to put some real metal in there and frame this thing out so it's much more sturdy and a livable space.
And that really concluded the demo for this vehicle. That's something that we were really excited about, was that there was very little demo, not many things to rip out or take out. With the shuttle bus, you have to remove the seats, you have to remove the linings, the handles. If the flooring is rotten, you need to get new plywood and waterproof it. There's the split AC unit from inside and outside. There's a lot of demo that goes into the shuttle buses before you can even get started. So we were pretty excited to just have a few hours of demo and we were ready to go.
Yeah, depending on what exactly your vehicle is, that could be days or weeks or even a month. I know we spent a lot of time on the first bus. We had to repair a lot of metal, right? So we had to cut metal out, weld in new metal for steps and things like that.
With our first bus, the bus that we live in, we had a lot of rust in that vehicle. We didn't know as much as we do now. We bought that bus from the Northeast, and we discovered that the shuttle bus frame, not the vehicle frame, the shuttle bus frame, was completely rusted out behind the wheels. It had just had years of salt spraying onto that frame, and we had to replace most of the back of the framing around the outside. We needed an entirely new step tub. We had to completely make that from scratch. So depending on what you're working with, you have more or less demo, but on the first bus, that took a month.
That was a month of Kevin power-ups right there.
A month to get that in place, and then the bus from last summer was at least a week, if not a week and a half.
So yeah, exciting to just sort of have to do a few things and get into it. The only other consideration was what we're going to do with the floor. And the floor is above the wheel well, so we didn't have to deal with some of that type of demo either. We decided we're going to go right on top of it, which already saves us a whole bunch of time.
Okay, progress report. We finished the little bit of demo that we had to do. The panels are off the walls. The garage door is finally out, thankfully. I don't think it was that bad.
No, I'm glad it's gone though.
Me too.
And it's a little warm. It was real warm with the door on. Glad that's gone. Next step is we need to mark where all of our metal reinforcement and framing is going to be going, with the doors and the windows and the main support.
We are moving right along with this build very quickly, and tomorrow is the day the framing's going in. So Drew is not going to be here for that. It's just going to be my dad and I. So I want to make sure we have a clear plan of where these doors and windows go before we weld it all in, and then Drew gets back and says, no, that's not where the door goes. It goes 2 inches to the right or to the left. So we're going to figure all of that out now so we don't have any guessing tomorrow.
All right, let's knock it out.
The demo's done.
I know, excited. All right, we're here, day 2 of the build. We got something exciting in the mail yesterday. I think it's gonna help a bunch in the shop this summer. Let's get it in there and check it out. Boy, that's heavy. It's not light.
I am so excited about this. We can't wait to show you what is in this box. I can't wait to see what's in this box.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I've never seen one of these things in person.
We're the worst unboxers.
Yeah, we could just get it out of this box first.
It's a box in a box.
There's one, let's get the small one. Pick that mess out of the way. Maybe. You've seen one of these.
Now you can see the first preview. Ooh, I'm so excited.
You're like, what is going on here? Probably haven't guessed what it is. Yeah, these are ventilation tubes. We're building a robot.
Take this out.
Are we building a robot for real? Oh, there it is.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Oh, this is so cool.
Oh, Zero Breeze, the Mark II. Wow, that's cool. I've never seen one in person. I wanted one of these so badly when we were in the van, because the van was such a small space. So it's like a small air conditioner, personal cooler.
We are jumping right in with our very first build sponsor, and this is Zero Breeze. They were gracious enough to send us their Mark II air conditioner, and we are going to be testing this out throughout the build series since we are building in the summertime, and as you know, we build in that tent. It is like a greenhouse. Through July and August, sometimes June, we are just absolutely dying. You can probably see in the footage from last year, we're just so sweaty, it's so hot, and it makes building really unenjoyable some of those days. So we are absolutely so excited to test out this unit and just see if it helps and show you some pros and cons.
Yeah, I know we're both really excited. When we were living in our van 4 or 5 years ago, I really wanted to get one of these. Never pulled the trigger, but happy to have our hands on one now. It has some really unique applications. It can be used to cool small space for sure, but I think for us in the shop, it's going to be that personal cooler kind of thing where you can bring it with you. It's small enough. You can bring it with you to different parts of the shop. So if you're up in a cubby just working on stuff and it's super hot in that confined space, you can have that cold air blowing on you.
One of the biggest things it does for us in the Northeast is dehumidify the air. So really excited to test this out. Also, another huge factor that you may not realize is that we don't have power hardwired to this tent. We did that entire build last summer off of extension cords, and we will probably be doing it again this summer. This is a battery-powered cooling unit, which means we won't have to have it plugged in, taking a plug away from all of our power tools and things we need for the build. We can just charge this up and keep it running while we're building, because I'm pretty sure that we almost died of heat stroke last summer installing those solar panels.
It is going to be nice to have that relief. Everyone I've seen that has tried it said you can get about 5 hours of runtime off that battery without even plugging it back in, which is actually pretty impressive. Look at this lithium pack. It's like the whole base of the battery.
Whoa.
That's pretty cool.
This is the whole battery?
Yeah. It's a big
That's so cool.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Is that it? Did I lock it on?
You did.
It's not that heavy. And these are like the exhausts, so if you were trying to actually cool a small space, then you can run the tubes out a window.
I see. We're going to take this next week to really put it through its paces, test out all the different parts of it, and we will report back to you in episode 2 about what we actually think of the Mark II, if it's worth it to you guys. So stay tuned for that next week. I do know one thing, the only place you will find Mateo all summer long is right next to the Zero Breeze. It has quickly become his very favorite spot. He realized what it was doing, and that cool air was coming out of the front of it.
Yeah.
He just did not leave it. He did not leave its side. So if for nothing else, Mateo already loves it.
All right, guys, that wraps up episode number 1. Just getting those gears moving, getting that space set up.
There is always so much work to be done on these builds. Of course, we are just so excited to get started. Really happy to be back doing another build series. And a brand new thing that we are starting is going live Wednesday nights on YouTube, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be talking just a little bit about the previous episode. If you have questions for us, we can chat all about it then.
Yeah, this should serve as a recap or after show to the previous episode, so anything pertaining to that, we can field questions. All right, we got a whole bunch of work to do. We got to get moving on this thing, so we got to get out of here, but we will catch up with you guys in about a week.